be just, why are so few people willing or able to see them as such? And yeah, I mean, it's difficult.
Yeah, I think there's two issues there. Firstly, it's that the Sharia has been thoroughly veiled from just about everybody in the modern world by the fact that it's applied so often in such an abusive way. You look at the procedures in these trials in Nigeria, for instance, and it's really hair-raising when you consider how a Sharia court should be operating and in what kind of framework and what rules for witnesses there are and how many differences of opinions there are. They just don't follow the rules. The hudud ordinances in Pakistan were a similar kind of appalling hybrid between poorly understood relics of what they call Anglo-Mohammedan law, aspects of common law, bits of the Sharia as interpreted by people who'd studied for a while in Saudi Arabia, and the result was a kind of legal monster. People see that, that's all they see, and of course they're repelled by it. So part of the problem is our problem. Part of the problem also is the modern world's inherent perversity that in the US, for instance, or in this country, people think that in this country, in the European tradition, the US has a different view of capital punishment. It's always assumed that corporal punishment is crueler than what you might call spiritual punishment. That it's fine to send somebody to strange ways for 5 years to be locked up with a bunch of rapists and criminals and to emerge profoundly transformed by those people. That's all right, even a young person. But any kind of corporal punishment is absolutely outrageous. And that's a materialistic definition of what a punishment should be. If you hurt somebody physically, that must be more barbarous than to hurt them spiritually. And we would just disagree with that. Particularly since the way in which prison affects and punishes people differs gigantically from person to person. A very vulnerable young person who's been sent to prison for 5 years may well never recover from the experience. Somebody who's kind of really tough and was a bully at school may kind of enjoy it. So there's something inherently unjust about preferring spiritual to corporal punishments. Having said that, I'm not a supporter of the uncritical reapplication of the hudud legislation in modern conditions, because I can't see anywhere where the preconditions for that as set forth in the classical text exist. You have to defend them, but by pointing out that they are interpreted in many different ways, and many of the ulama, most of those I've studied with, do not defend their application in a modern jurisdiction because there's certain technical rules that simply can't be satisfied. So, but what's very important is that people's interest in Islam is not short-circuited by certain spectacular issues. What's really important is what you believe, how you pray, the ritual core of the religion. That's what really matters, and those were the first things that the revelation came to institute. We mustn't allow outward things to veil inward things, and each of us has to develop a particular kind of way of stopping people from being distracted by the external. Unfortunately, because so many Muslims are preoccupied with external things and spend more time talking about hijab than they talk about taqwa, we're part of the problem, unfortunately, because we've got our priorities wrong.